Hey guys, welcome to Let's Play the Blues, episode 4. In today's lesson, we're going to mix it up. I've been reading through some of the comments, and a lot of you have mentioned that you're interested in learning how to apply these little scales that I've been showing you. So in today's lesson, we're going to go back to episode 1 where we talked about the blues in the key of C and apply some little riffs to this. So we're going to go through it step by step through the scale using the 12-bar blues formula and then kind of taking a couple of riffs apart so I can give you some examples of what you might try to play over a blues progression. So get tuned up and let's get to it. So a little brief review again. The chords that we'll use for the 12-bar blue in the the 12-bar blues in the key of C are the 1 chord, which is C7, the 4 chord, which is F7, and the 5 chord, which is G7. And when you're doing the walk down, we're going to sneak in this little G flat 7 here as well. So those are the chords we'll use. You'll see me playing those in the example coming up in a little bit here, but just remember that you're using the same 12-bar formula and we're going to be using the key of C. The strumming pattern, again, is a hybrid variation of the island strum. So the island strum, again, is just down, down, up, up, down, up. And I'm using that with some mutes in there, so I'm going down, mute, up, mute, mute. So if you haven't played the strum before, I suggest going back a couple days in the series here to check that out. But today is going to be all about riffing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play this progression, and then I'm going to give you guys some examples of how you would actually play riffs using the scales over the top of that chord progression. So before we do that, we need to get into the scales again. So the scales that we use for the key of C are going to be a C blues scale. So again, that scale starts here by playing open C string, and then 3rd fret C string, and then we do 1st fret E string, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, and then we go down to the A string and we play 1st fret and 3rd fret. So that pattern again is open, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. Now, as a little bonus today, I'm going to give you guys a second pattern to add on to this. So now you can start using a little bit more real estate on the neck for your riffs. So that pattern starts here on the 3rd fret with your index finger on the C string. And then you're going to play 5th fret with your ring finger, C string. 6th fret with your pinky on the C string. So we have, and then we move down to the E string and play 3rd fret, 6th fret with our pinky, 3rd fret with our index on the A string, and then finish on the 6th fret on the A string. So that pattern again is 3, 5, 6, E string, 3, 6, A string, 3, 6. Now riffs are derived out of scales. So technically you could play a scale over a blues progression, but that wouldn't sound very bluesy and it wouldn't sound very cool. So what you do is you actually pick a few notes from this. So playing a scale is really just training your fingers to go through and identify the notes that you have available to you when you're going to play something in that key. So learning the scales inside and out, forwards and backwards is only going to help your fingers kind of build that muscle memory so you remember where to go when you're playing riffs. You really want to start visualizing these scales, knowing and doing the same fingers each time you play them. That's only going to help you as you kind of start adding some little riffs into the equation here. So that's a little brief description on the scales and a little review of the 12-bar blues. Now we're going to get to it. All right, so now for the first time in All For Uke history, you're going to see me jamming with None other than myself. Yep, that's right, Kevin jamming with Kevin. So I'm going to show you guys what it looks like to apply some of these scales using some different riffs over the blues progression that we just did in the key of C. So this is just going to be a playing example, and then following that I'll show you guys a few riffs that you can apply as well. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what happened there in that playing example. So you know the scale now, you have some options of notes that you can play, but how do you turn it into what I just played there? Well, the first thing you want to do is start simple. You don't need to pick all of the notes at one time. Maybe just pick 2 notes or 3 notes and play them really well. So you just could take a couple of notes from the scale and play them back and forth. Starting with very simple riffs is the first step to this. And I'm going to give you guys a couple simple riffs, but I just wanted to let you know that. The second thing is trying to create themes. So something that I was always told, and my uncle was a famous harmonica player who played a lot of blues, and the one thing he told me is that you want to really create a call and response. So an example of a call and response would be playing a riff and then answering it. So for example here, and then I leave a little space, and then I respond to that. So I have the first call, a little space, and then a response to that. So the moral of the story there is you want to leave a little bit of breath when you're playing riffs. You don't need to play riffs where you're just constantly playing notes. There's a time and a place for that, but you want things to be played that people can grab onto, that people can remember. So I think about riffs almost like a vocal. So when you hear a catchy theme in a chorus or a hook, there's also catchy themes that could be played musically. You've heard them in songs, you've heard them in blues, you've heard them in rock. There's been famous guitar solos that you could sing every note to, and the reason is because they made them into themes. So kind of creating a theme, a call and response is a great way to do that, and kind of keeping it simple. The next component to this is adding some feeling. Well, how do you add feeling to your playing? Well, there's a variety of ways of doing that. Maybe you're bending the note. Maybe you're sliding into a note. Maybe you're hammering on a note. Maybe you're pulling off a note. So all of those little techniques that are involved in riffing can be used to add emotion. And ultimately, this is kind of conveying a lot of emotion when you're playing riffs. If you see blues guitar players, you notice guys like B.B. King, Elmore James, they had a lot of feel, a lot of emotion. But they were also doing a lot of the things that we've been talking about, which is creating space, having call and response, having themes as all part of it. So those are some things to keep in mind as you're developing your riffs. Simple, call and response, and adding some feeling to the whole mix. So try a couple of these things here over the playing example today, but before you do that, I'm going to give you guys a couple of riffs that you can apply over the jam track that we're going to have here for you to work on this with. So this first riff, I'm going to use our first blues pattern down here. I'm going to keep it very simple. Let me just actually play the riff for you really quick here so you can hear it. So the riff sounds like this. So the way that I did that is I played 3rd fret, ring finger on the C string, and then index down to the 1st fret on the E string, and then I went right back to the C string with my ring finger on the 3rd, and then open C string. So I have 3, 1, 3, 0. Now I'm just using a few notes there to create a riff. You could take that sequence of notes and rearrange them and create your own riff with that, or you could try this one. The call and response aspect comes into play with, if you play this riff one time, you could respond to that by kind of mixing up the riff and playing it a little different way. So I'll leave that up to you to try to come up with the response to that first riff there. So again, this first riff, if you want to practice it with me real quick, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. One more time. 3, 4. So that's the first riff you can use. Now, we're going to move into the second pattern here with a little bit more added to it. So we're going to kind of start using all 4 of our fingers here. So this riff will sound like this. So how did I do that? Started with my pinky on the 6th fret here on the E string, my index finger on the 3rd fret on the E string, my the 6th fret with my pinky on the C string, and then ring on the 5th fret C string, 3rd fret C string, and then I end it again with my open C string. So again, nice and slow. 6, 3, 6, 5, 3, 0. Now something that I want to mention about these couple of riffs and why they work is something called resolving. So we're playing the blues in the key of C, so when I end my riff, it'll sound nice and sweet if I end my riff also with a C note. So in these first 2 examples here, I've ended both of those riffs with an open C string here. So when the blues progression is playing behind that, when you end your riff on a C note, it's going to sound nice. It's not going to clash with anything that's happening. If I were to try to end the sequence on a high tension note, maybe part way through the scale, where it doesn't sound like it's resolving, that can sound like it clashes a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind as you're developing your own riffs, is try to find riffs where you can resolve back to your 1 chord or your first note, which is C. So when you try this, you'll kind of hear this over the progression. But now, for this next example, I'm going to play along with myself again using these 2 riffs. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, let it go a little bit here. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, let's move to the second pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Couple more times. The last one. Well, I hope you guys had some fun today, and I hope you're feeling a little bit better and more enlightened about how to actually apply these scales to the blues. So today we talked a little bit about a couple of different riffs that you can use and some of the techniques that you'll use when you're trying to apply these riffs to the blues. I will mention, if you guys like that little jam along session there that we just had, I put together a bunch of jam tracks at allforuke.com. If you're a member, you can download those, put them on your device, take them with you, and practice these riffs and all of the riffs that you guys come up with anywhere you go. So you can go to allforuke.com and check those out. You can always get a membership and just try it for 7 days if you'd like, just to explore the site, see some of the different song sheets, worksheets, practice tracks, and all the other cool stuff that the members get on the website. If you like this video, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel here. Leave your comments below. Let me know if you have any questions about this. Again, this was our first time kind of trying the screen. So we want to know your feedback. Do you like this? Do you want to see more videos like this? Do you want to see less videos like this? This is all kind of a new thing, and we're learning together. So my name's Kevin. I thank you so much for watching today, and I see you next time for day 5 of Learning the Blues.
This sunny day